VGK falls in LA to the Kings 4-2, and they played most of the game, minus a couple of defensemen, more injuries for the Golden Knights. We check in on Laurent Brossoit's progress in the AHL, and we preview VGK against the Ducks on the road tonight, tail end of the back-to-back. Who is going to be in the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights?
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick. Follow us on Twitter at LockedOnVGK, at TDChrisG. That's him. I am at Tony Dasco. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. And Chris, last night, Philip Deneau, a goal and 2 assists, leading the way for the Kings over VGK. And now they cut into the lead in the Pacific Division. It's down to 3 points. The Golden Knights have the game in hand. And goals scored for the Golden Knights by former Kings. Michael Amadio, his third goal in 3 games. Unbelievable. Braden McNabb. And the third former King, Alec Martinez, was injured in the game in the first period. It looked as though he took an Alex Iafallo, a slap shot off of his right ankle from what we saw. Danil Maramanov, he went off the ice. He was hit in the face with the puck. Injuries continue to be a problem for the Vegas Golden Knights, but there were a lot of other issues last night in this game for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the reaction was room temperature from the game. Like, people didn't seem too bothered by the loss. Even Cassidy's post-game presser, he alluded to the team had chances to win, which I'll buy into some of the opportunities the team had. I'm not buying the first 2 goals. Miramanov with a blind behind the net, no look pass, hoping to connect. And then just a series of poor things happen on the second goal, where ultimately VGK couldn't clear the zone with having possession of the puck, and then get caught flat-footed as they just get a tap. And I think that was the Deneau goal. Mouthful, easy for me to say. Third goal, whatever, just bad luck. Pietrangelo bats it midair. Mark Stone blows a wheel using the way Cassidy explained it. Bad luck, fine. I'll give him that goal, but I don't know. I was not terribly impressed with the game. I don't think I was as high on the game as Cassidy was. Just same thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've put out there in some of my tweets about the games and stuff like that, doing the little things right. You do the little things right, the big things come, and that's any level. Doesn't matter if it's my son out there on the ice at lifeguard or the National Hockey League. Just do the little things right, take care of things at home, and good things happen. No one's going to be perfect. Like, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, but I don't think that was that good of an effort last night. I don't.
Yeah, and VGK, once again, there's excuses from the broadcast side. Always, it's either injuries. Last night, it was bad ice. And
you had the lead. Who cares? You had the lead. Yeah, like, there's no excuses. There's none.
And both teams have to play on that same ice surface. So that was not a legitimate excuse. And it just gets old. And follow, goes top shelf. Stone fell down. And again, I thought Pietrangelo was even late getting back defensively, but it was a fine play. Give credit to the Kings last night. And the Golden Knights need to get things together because they play a tail ender tonight. They're going to be in Anaheim. And so yesterday we went on to Cap Friendly, and we saw Ron Bjork, Pahal, who I thought played pretty well last night, and Dorofeyev, that they were going back to the AHL. And then yesterday afternoon, they were reinstated, I guess, brought back up to the Golden Knights level.
Paper move.
Jonathan Marchessault is on this road trip. Can we expect him to play tonight?
I don't think he's making the trip if he was rehabbing.
Yeah, right. He's there, so he might as well play, right? He's got.
I would assume that was the hope, and they probably. I mean, it's actually, if he plays tonight, it's actually pretty good strategy, right? Whatever his injury is, you don't want to push him too hard. You hope to steal the game against the Kings. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. So March still comes in tonight. You hope his spark, the fact that he didn't play the previous night. He'll have plenty of energy. You hope his spark is enough to get the 2 points that they just got to have tonight. If they fall tonight to Anaheim, that would certainly not be the starts to the post-Christmas campaign that we had wanted. And then we're staring down the barrel all of a sudden of a 3-game losing streak because we got a home game on Saturday. And I don't know. Who knows what happens at home anymore?
So VGK already without the likes of White Cloud and Theodore. And now last night, Martinez injured in that first period, which they never recognized on the TV broadcast.
LA caught it. I was on the LA side.
The LA side caught it. The VGK side didn't know they didn't even notice till the third period. And they go, oh, we just found out. Like, okay, but you could notice because he wasn't out there at all. And they even had mentioned, well, maybe they'll get, a third goal. Martinez, a former King, will score a goal for the Golden Knights. In any event, so now how do they make up for the loss of Martinez if he cannot go tonight? The good news for the Vegas Golden Knights is that if they do need a call-up, right down the road in San Diego, you've got the Silver Knights playing. It's an hour and a half drive, up from San Diego to Anaheim or thereabouts. So they can just pull somebody if they need to last minute. So
what about Ben Hutton? I think Ben Hutton's been scratched last couple of games. So I think that's the chalk.
Yeah, he's on the road with them. Yeah, that's very true. So Ben Hutton is there. And
Ben Hutton, and they might call up like Korzak or something like that. So they have someone in the box just in case. Something happens, however the rules work to get someone in an emergency situation. So again, maybe a little bit of luck there, I guess, that Henderson's right down the street, so to speak. But injuries, excuses. I mean, no one wants to hear it. No one really is going to acknowledge it anymore because it does happen to every team. But I do feel VGK is maybe on the wrong side of variance all of a sudden. I mean, let's go back. So I have been very happy with McCrimmon as a general manager from beginning to now. I've liked the rosters he's put together. Last year, bad luck. We can agree they were on the wrong side of the injury variance bug. Excuse? No. Reality? Yes. So one of the concerns that I did have was basically by the age of the roster. I said many times, if things are going well and we're winning with this roster, everything is good, but there could come a time as the season progresses, some of these players are older, they could get injured more frequently, whatever the reasoning is that these injuries are happening, they're happening. Now, it seems like these aren't, and I don't know how else to say this, these aren't old man injuries in the sense that, people's bodies are breaking down. Mark Stone, maybe a little bit, and old man injury isn't the right way to say that. Just his body is old. He's been through a lot. Martinez taking one off the ankle. Bad luck. Now, Martinez puts himself in that spot, but it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to get hurt if you take enough shots to sensitive areas. And the upper ankle, that's there's no pad. You have the skate, but the skate's not going to save you a whole lot in a spot like that. Zach Whitecloud, someone falls on him. Bad luck, whatever. Shea Theodore goes knee on knee in a clean play. That's bad luck. So, yes, there's a lot of bad luck happening. And is this on McCrimmon right now? No, but the season's not over yet either. We have a long way to go, and you hope luck comes on the VGK side as far as all these injuries go. But I do wonder what the year-over-year comparison is on man games lost, and I wonder how close to last year's path we are on. And the depth of this team is being tested. We did like the depth. We did mention the depth, but the second wave of depth we like. The third wave of depth is the AHL. And last time I checked, it's hard for an AHL team to compete with a National League team. So hopefully VGK can stay in enough games. Hopefully a game like tonight where the Silver Knights should be able to beat the Anaheim Ducks. You lock up these points. You got Nashville coming on Saturday. Cody Glass revenge game. There we go. We got the Cody Glass revenge tour on Saturday. So, hopefully we can weather that storm.
Yeah. And again, though, it's the same old story where they've been in these games. Okay. They had an opportunity to even steal a point in last night's game. And then, of course, misfortune, what have you, whatever you want to call it. But they're right there. It's the same thing that we saw last season with DeBoer, even though they have all these injuries. In spite of the injuries, they're still in games. They had the opportunity to steal a point at the very, very least in the game last night. I want to talk about Braden McNabb. His first goal since last April the 9th against Arizona. And I went back, I think it was his first goal in 46 games and Riley Smith with an unbelievable pass between the legs. So that was one of the highlights I thought of the game last night. And I liked how they were attacking the net as well, the Vegas Golden Knights.
It was fun if you go back on NHL.com or through the VGK app and watch the recap. I think the third replay of the McNabb goal, like you're just watching him, like what the heck is he doing coming in from the blue line there? And I think whoever the forward was assigned to that area is like, you're not supposed to be going in the net. What are you doing? Stop it! And there he is for the tap in right there. I was opening packs of cards, but I had my TV on, so like if this is where I'm supposed to be staring as I'm focusing and opening my cards, my head is kind of over here as I'm opening cards and looking like, ooh, okay. And then on the replay, like, that was Braden McNabb. What the heck is he doing down there? But, credit McNabb for getting himself in the right place at the right time. And we need more of this stuff, right, Tony? We need more goals from places you don't expect them. We need more good things. I mean, you need a lot of good things to happen when you have this many injuries, even against the Ducks tonight. Even though the Ducks are the Ducks, they're still an NHL team, and they have a lot of great players. They do have a lot of great forwards in particular, and it's not going to be a layup right now. Nothing's going to be a layup for the VGK until they get back to health, and even then, the second period is still a problem.
Yeah, and the third line still no productivity. Braden Pahal, 4 shots. He played pretty well from everything.
I liked his game in the third period, definitely.
Yeah, so he picked up his game. Anything else to close out the recap of the Kings game last night?
Last 2.5 minutes sucked. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like no real high quality grade A scoring chances with the goal he pulled. Like it would have been nice to see some of that push. Like, so the difference, Tony, when I'm at the game on Friday, the St. Louis game, right? They're losing in the end, but there was a feeling because they were pressing and Binnington was making some saves. He didn't have he didn't play as well this past Friday versus a month and a half ago or whatever it was, but he was making some good saves out there. And you just felt that VGK was going to have opportunities and possibly something was coming. Wasn't nervous at all in the stand, just watching, relaxed, having a good time. But the game last night, I didn't feel the same thing. I didn't feel like maybe until about like 7 or 8 minutes left, you're kind of like, whatever, plenty of time, not going to overthink it. But really after that point forward, you're like, we're going to lose this game. Like there's no other way to say it. VGK is going to drop this game. It just didn't have that punch, didn't have that. Didn't look. I don't know if desire is the right way to say it. I mean, that's more of a Cassidy question, but it just didn't look like VGK was going to have enough in the tank to make a push for a good chance in the end of the game, and that's unfortunate. And now, Cassidy did mention the tougher of the two games is actually the Anaheim game. That was Cassidy's quote. I think he mentioned that in the pregame, and then they doubled down on his statement postgame. The first game back is more adrenaline, and then the second game back, you got to recharge the batteries quickly and get back out there. So tonight is the game that maybe Cassidy is more concerned about. It's almost a certainty we're going to get Adin Hill tonight, which is Aiden's been solid. So hopefully Adin can weather the storm for the first half of the game, I think, and hopefully VGK can steal a couple of goals.
The day started out. I saw and I was watching the presser with Alec after the pregame skate. Alec Martinez kind of set a tone, an odd tone in my estimation, in that he was saying, we're coming off the holiday and, you just have to deal with whatever schedule's in front of you. It's not like, again, they're changing time zones to go and play a game. They were just a quick jaunt and they flew in on the day of the game. I don't know if that was right or wrong, or what have you, but they went to LA yesterday, pretty common, right? And then tonight, I mean, after the game last night, they took the hour plus drive, just down the 415, and they get into Anaheim at a good hour where they could sleep, recharge their batteries. And I just couldn't understand that tone going into a back-to-back where I think it's kind of easy. I think it's tonight should be a layup for the Vegas Golden Knights. They should win this game. And they should have put a lot more emphasis, I felt, on the front end. Did they come out flat?
Before I pull it up, Tony, what do we think? What are we thinking for a line in tonight's game? Like, is this like a minus 300 road type situation, or are we like minus 185?
No, it's got to be over 2 bills. It has to be over 200 because
like 220 range, maybe.
It could, because it's supposed to be
Gibson. 220 even feels short, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be Gibson, who's lost 15 times to the Vegas Golden Knights, more than any goaltender.
That's awesome. All right. So according to STN, minus 185, Tony. That's short.
That is a little short.
That's a little short. But again, we have basically what defensemen are we going to be down to tonight? So you have your top six. Ben Hutton was 7. Miramonov was 8. And yeah, so I mean, you got defensemen 7 and 8 out there tonight, right? And possibly 9 if depending on what happens with Martinez, right? So
Correct.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean,
I don't think he'll be back tonight. I just have a feeling that
I doubt it. I would doubt that. I'm sure Miramonov is fine. I would hope, but
yeah,
I don't know. Tough times. I mean, tough times when things are great. When the team is healthy, 13-3 at a 9-game winning streak. When the team isn't healthy, we're struggling to play 500 hockey right now. Call it what it is, friends.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about Laurent Brossoit. He is on the comeback trail with the AHL Silver Knights, and we'll get to talking about him when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information for stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the NHL, we've got it all handled at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline. And we are always the fastest and easiest way to get your sports betting information. You can get your fix right there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn a lot more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights, and thank you for making Locked On Golden Knights your first listen each and every day. And make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, Locked On's take of the day, and much, much more. All available on the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. So we were mentioning that the Silver Knights have a game tonight in San Diego against the Gulls. And Laurent Brossoit, let's talk about his comeback. He's been playing very well lately. They had a nice story about him on AHL.com yesterday. And he's coming off of a couple of surgeries, which, very difficult ones, because it all began in his mind with a lower abdominal issue, which then caused a lot of stress on his hip. And so he had to have a couple of surgeries, and his rehab assignment is with the Silver Knights. And he started off on the wrong foot, and we blasted him forward with 5 goals on 25 shots. I think
4 shots. 4 shots.
Yeah. On 4 shots. You were there. You drank a shot for every shot that went through, that went into the net. So they play the Gulls tonight. He was the AHL Player of the Week. He posted the back-to-back shutouts earlier this month. His record is 5-6-1, and he's got a 2.35 now goals against average. So he's really rebounded well. And the biggest question, I think, is Logan Thompson fading a little bit?
So before we get to that, I want to highlight one thing in this article here, and you kind of started. So here's the quote from Brossoit, and we'll get to LT in a second here. After I hurt my lower ab, we'll call it last season, is how he said it. We'll call it last season. So this has been a problem for a lot longer than last season. I'll tell you that confidently right now, just by that statement. So put pressure on the hip. Then the hip gave out. Then the back took over. So the back, his back was compensating for his lack of mobility, and his hip is what he's saying there. Then the back gave out. Nothing I can do to compensate for that. So basically, he did what he could for as long as he could last season. His body just basically gave him the finger and said, "We're done." So credit Brossoit for everything he has been through, and the fact that he is getting himself to an NHL caliber goalie again. I mean, he had to reinvent himself last year with all these injuries to get through it, right? And then he does that, and he was okay. I mean, obviously, you can see where the decline was, and you add his declining health with his upward trend in games played because of the situation with Robin Lehner. It was just such a bad situation. So it's very good to see him working his way back, and it's good that we have another tool in our tool belt that at some point, I mean, folks, you see what's happening with our forwards and defensemen. We're fortunate that our goalies have not experienced the same the same bad luck as far as injuries go yet. I say yet because 40 plus games to go. So any given point, something could happen. Is Logan Thompson fading? I don't know. I mean, he's a rookie, so I think we have to make sure we remember that, and he's going to remind us of that. I don't think he did anything last game to tell us he was fading, right? I mean, you watch all three of those goals. I'm not sure what more he could have done, and he made an incredible this save off the skate that I caught a replay of. I mean, that was phenomenal. That stretch across right there. He finds ways to keep the team in the game. And even the game on Friday night where he gave up those 3 goals pretty fast, unfortunately, all of them in the second period, like 8 minutes apart, he still made the other saves to keep the team in the game. So to say he's fading, I think that's a little harsh. To say he's a rookie experiencing what a rookie's going to go through over the course of a long season, I think is a little fair assessment to offer, because he's earned the benefit of the doubt. He's done nothing for us to come at him and say, oh, Logan Thompson, he's not winning games for us. He's without LT, could Aiden Hill be doing what Aiden Hill is doing right now? I don't know. I suggested we trade LT, and use him to ship someone like William Karlsson. Imagine where his team would be without William Karlsson, Tony. No, imagine if LT was not our goalie, and all of a sudden we're looking at the Hutchinator, Michael Hutchinson, out there with Aiden Hill trying to slow these teams down. We'd have to win games 5-4 every night, and that's a tough recipe. So LT's doing the job right now. I don't think LT is fading, but I think he is showing his rookie colors, a little bit, and that's fair. And there's one thing we've learned from LT. He has succeeded at every level, at every moment of his career. And every time he gets elevated or has more responsibility on his plate, he does get the job done. Now, is he maybe plateaued a little bit for right now? That's a fair assessment we can make. But that doesn't mean he's not going to get better. He's going to learn, and he's going to find a way to succeed even stronger in the days, weeks, months to come. And I mean, he's our number one right now. He is our number one. I don't think that's going to change for a few seasons. LT could be be the man for 4 or 5 years until I'm not going to make a joke, but until he's not. So, Robin Leonard looming next year, who knows what's going to happen there, but LT's the man. He deserves every bit of credit, and he deserves the benefit of the doubt for a long time.
Okay. So Laurent Brossoit, how soon do you think we see him come up to the NHL level? Again, they can put, for paper's sake, they could send down Logan Thompson to give him a chance, to give him an opportunity. Talking about all these games consecutively for the Vegas Golden Knights. Tough schedule here as we go into the new year. So do they bring him up? I still feel they will bring him up relatively soon to just see either, again, as you mentioned, to shop him around, showcase him, or just to see if he really truly is back, in form.
I think you need to do it. And I think you need to do it somewhat soon. Because teams right now are putting together their playoff roster, at least in their war rooms and things like that. They're assessing their situations, and teams that have goaltending trouble can use a nice insurance policy like Brossoit, who is getting the job done right now. The choice is going to be, does VGK keep the security blanket, or do they roll the dice and trade him for, possibly something that can either help us now or down the road as far as prospects and draft picks go. But I do think we need to see him on the ice. I think that would be helpful for everybody. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a showcase or a see what you got. It could be both. It could be, hey, play an NHL game, have fun. Let's see how this works out. As far as long term, these 3 goalies in our stable is too many. Aiden Hill, I think it's just a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure Aiden Hill is a 1-year deal. So, and I think, is this Brossoit's final year of his contract too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it was a 2-year contract, right? It was 2 years, I believe.
I feel about 68.7% certainty on that one, Tony. So, we'll see how it all shakes out. And there's one, my original point I wanted to make, I'm glad it just came back to me. There's a plan. And what I mean when there's a plan is we see how the goalie rotation goes. They stuck to this plan all the way until it was the game on the Tuesday night, a couple weeks ago, Tony, where we felt Aiden Hill got a quicker turnaround, where they were ham and egging it up, right? Ham and egging it up, where they started the Buffalo game, right? I believe Aiden Hill started that game that night. So that was the one spot where we feel like they deviated from the plan. So my point here is there is a plan with all three of these goalies right now. And McCrimmon and or Cassidy and or McPhee, probably not fully, but the other three, he's busy with the soccer team. But the other three, we know there is a plan. I'm sure there's a circled date somewhere on the calendar where we're going to see Brossoit play an NHL game. And maybe that'll be a fun little dart we can throw either later in this segment or a future show.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a ton. I'm already storing things up for What the Friday because I got blasted yesterday that I have absolutely no inside information that Bill Foley has pets with this team. That's another story for another
Has
time.
what with this team?
He's got pets.
Oh,
preferential treatment. He's definitely.
That's so any anyway, business. That's any business. But yeah. Fair.
Okay, so LT, is he losing confidence with now all these injuries with defensemen? So he doesn't have that first line of defensemen in front of him. So maybe you could lose confidence or not be as so sure as you were in the past with those front liners right there at your disposal, right there. I mean, minus, a lot of the pucks do not get to the net because of Alec Martinez. Let's face it, right? And now, he's out of the lineup. And how are they playing in front of LT? And does it affect his confidence?
LT is a warrior, and LT, I think, what's the best way to use this? I think he excels when things get tougher. I think he welcomes the challenge. I think he welcomes the opportunity. I think he looks at moments like this as a chance for him to lead the team. Just the same mindset he gets when it's shootout time, right? He's competitive. He puts a lot of extra effort into that where many other goalies might not, which doesn't only help LT get better, but it helps our forwards get better. And all of a sudden we're having a decent shootout record after last year. That was one of the key ingredients, if you will, that did end up costing us a playoff run that would have been short. We can concede that at this point, but it did cost us an opportunity, not the only factor, but one of many factors that kept us out of the playoffs. But I think LT is looking at this as an opportunity to help, as an opportunity to lead. And Adin Hill, maybe he looks at it a bit differently because I don't know how his character is versus Logan Thompson's. Not knocking Adin Hill whatsoever. I love the dude. I love all my interactions with him, either in front of the camera, if you will, or behind the camera. A few times I've gotten to shoot the breeze with him. I love the dude. He's a lot of fun. But how does that transfer over to, hey, go get him without your fourth, fifth, or without your, let's see, second for Theodore and maybe fourth in White Cloud. And then now all these other players are going down too. Like, it's a tough spot for a goalie. And hopefully Adin Hill can have the same perspective that I believe, I don't know, that I believe Logan Thompson has, is, hey, follow me, boys. I got you. I'm gonna make my saves, and I'm gonna give you guys a shot. I'm gonna make a couple extra tonight. So let's get the W tonight, boys. Let's go.
Okay, coming up next, VGK does in fact visit Anaheim, the tail end of the back-to-back, and we scout the Ducks. There's not much scouting here to report on. Really difficult schedule coming back from a breezy holiday here in Las Vegas. We're going to return with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Hey, if you have not yet, please make sure to check out our YouTube channel. Our goal by the end of this week is 300 subscribers.
3,000.
3,000. Okay, by the end of the week, though, 300 for starters.
300 will be good. Maybe we got there already. I'll tell you in about 4.2 seconds.
Okay, let me start in then. Let's talk about
290.
Anaheim.
We need 10. We need 10.
All right,
let's
go.
Come on.
Do I hear 10? Do I hear 5? Do I hear 8? 7? Okay. So we get the feeling that the Anaheim Ducks are a team that, let's say, is tailor-made for the back end of the back-to-back, because especially the fact that the Ducks, again, they're not playing well, and they are expected to have John Gibson back off of the injury list.
Baby, let's go.
He was out with an undisclosed injury. What did you call it before? Oldness? Perhaps that was it. That's what plagued him. So he has more losses than any goaltender against the Vegas Golden Knights with 15. His record is 3-15-5. I can't stop laughing.
This is better than Martin Jones.
Well, why? Right. Exactly. Does he get pulled? Is there a prop bet out there? This would be good.
Ooh. So here you go, Tony. More importantly,
Okay.
right? You
Yep.
want to talk about this lovely schedule? We have Nashville on Saturday for our noon Year's Eve game. Guess where Nashville plays on Friday, Tony?
Anaheim. And why do teams, okay, the back-to-backs, this is the third back-to-back for the Vegas Golden Knights, right? But how come teams will first play a roadie? Is that what they call it in hockey? A road game. Okay, why are they playing another road game? So Vegas gets them on the back end of the back-to-back as well. It is so damn fixed. It's absolutely fixed, man. How many every team that plays a back-to-back, they don't start here in Vegas. They finish here on the tail end. It's incredible.
So looking through Anaheim just for the month, oddly enough, they've defeated Carolina, they beat Edmonton on the road, and then they beat Montreal. That's all the wins they have on the month. Losses to Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Ottawa. It's lost 7-0 to Toronto. Yikes. Wow, they went back-to-back road games, lost 0-3 and 0-7. You want to talk about a confidence crusher. There's your confidence crusher right there. So, I mean, on the season, their record's terrible. I'm not even going to mention it. Looking just at their stats and kind of who's got points and who's doing anything for this team, let's take a look here. Wow. Lucas Dostal is a 3.5 goals against. He's bouncing between San Diego and Anaheim. John Gibson is
out.
What's
Stolarz is out. Stolarz is still out, though. He's out in.
Yeah, I know. I got you. I was going down just what they're showing right now. Yeah, Stolarz is 2-5 with a 4-0. And John Gibson, folks, let me tell you how John Gibson start against VGK works. Those 5 games he beat VGK, right, Tony? He probably shut us out because that's John Gibson, right? John Gibson will be lights out for a period and a half, maybe, right? Then he lets in 1 goal. And baseball term, no hitter in progress, 5.5, 6 innings in, someone gets a seeing eye hit, and then boom, the floodgates open. So that's how a typical John Gibson day against the VGK is. And NHL, maybe not just VGK. He'll do well, and then boom, something's going to happen, and all heck's going to break loose. And next thing you know, it's 6-0 Vegas Golden Knights.
And it's a Carlson hat trick, basically.
Empty netter too to get the hat trick, just
against his bad team. He does it all the time. Okay, go ahead.
Troy Terry's 29 points. Zegras sitting at 25 points. Zegras, he's going to be a treat to watch. It's always nice to. I mean, live is better because you can focus in on him. But he'll be out there. Mason McTavish, another youngster, 6 goals, 14 assists. Adam Henrique, 17 points. Like I'm trying to squeeze the lemons to make a nice glass of lemonade, and I can't. It's
no. I'll give you some lemon juice here. So
I need a lot.
The former Ranger,
some March of salt too, please.
The former Ranger Frankie Petrano, last 12 games, 2 goals and 6 assists. And John Klingberg, pretty interesting there. He's had 3 goals in his last 10 games, but he started off miserably with Anaheim.
$7 million. Yikes.
I remember they signed him, to that deal from Dallas. And I thought
John Gibson makes $6.4 million. Good Lord.
Right. VGK won 4-0 previously. I saw something here, though, that caught my eye. Against the Pacific Division, the Ducks are 4-5-1, and VGK in the Pacific is only 5-5-1. How about that?
It's interesting because stat, right? We keep mentioning about the fact that the Pacific is a little bit softer, call it what it is, as far as wins and losses goes. And some teams that you expect more from aren't doing it yet. Edmonton and Calgary, just to name a couple. And Seattle's also fading pretty fast. So the fact that they're 5-5 in the Pacific is interesting. And I believe Sinbin put this out. Cassidy had a very amazing record against the Pacific for a long time. Now, granted, you only play the teams in the Pacific from, the other conference not too often. So the fact that he's slowing down a little bit against the Pacific is interesting. Now, again, you have to acknowledge the injuries. I'm not making an excuse, but they are something.
And the bad ice.
The bad ice and the bad schedule.
The heavy ice.
And all of that. So, it's interesting to see. And, I mean, like I said, this is a tough spot tonight. Yes, Anaheim, they got 3 wins in December, but it's a tough spot. It's a back-to-back. Our defense is decimated. And no Jack Eichel, maybe March or so, maybe not. We won't know until the pregame skates, not during the day, but not until around 6:30 local time. So, hopefully we get one of the two back. Is Eichel on the trip or no? Did they say?
I don't think he's on the trip. No.
Okay, we haven't heard one way or the other. So the
And we might
Eichel
see Ben Hutton,
situation,
right? We'll see Hutton
I
probably
got to be
tonight.
Hutton. I mean, I don't think they bring Korzak in for this game, but you never know. Um, it's not an easy spot. It's not an easy spot. And the fact that VGK is only minus 185, Tony, when they probably should be minus 370 in a spot like this. I mean, if it was a home game, maybe 370. You know, the odds are kind of scary. Over under is 6 on this game. I don't know how I feel about that. I can make a case for VGK only potting 2 goals and winning 2-1. No different than VGK losing this game 6-4 and just a crazy weird track meet. So I think I'd probably bet the over. Maybe I don't know if I prefer the over or taking the over individual props on each team to try and get a little more value out of it. That's something I'd have to consider if I'm going to make if I'm going to make any bets. It's the coffee, folks. I had an extra shot in there. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's get our predictions in. I'm
Oh,
going
joy.
to say VGK wins this 4-2, and I'm going to go with on our locks of the night. I'm going to go with Riley Smith, and I'm going to go with Nick Waugh, who's been scoreless. Is it his last 10 games? Is that
It's been a
it?
while. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
it's been a minute. So I think I've got the do factor. Remember I picked McNabb one of those games a couple of weeks ago. I thought he was going to first goal in 46 games. They were going, hey, first goal of the season. No, he didn't score since last April, folks. Okay. In any event, who are you taking tonight? Oh, and guess what? The power play unit for the VGK, much improved, will prevail because I think this month I saw a crazy statistic. I think per game, I think Anaheim is averaging 12 minutes per game in the box.
I like it. That's a prop I wish. And I mean, I don't know how to say this. The Vegas books are so behind everything else in the country as far as props and offerings and stuff like that. But I'll bet there's special teams props out there on other places to make wagers. Probably BetOnline. I would probably guess BetOnline has stuff like that because I mean it's head over, like moving forward from that before I get in trouble. VGK 6-5 shootout victory, just wild track meet game. Our defense is decimated. They got some players that can score. I just think this is going to be an ugly game, uglier than the Blues game. But again, ugly wins are good wins and they do count. So if we can get this game to a shootout, although Trevor's egress in his shootout, that could be a treat to watch. He does good things blindfolded while balls are flying at his head. Dodge balls, people. Stop it. Dodge balls. Relax.
I'm taking him to score a lacrosse goal too tonight.
Oh, that would be so much fun. God, what I see, we got a second here. I feel like Phil Kessel had the puck behind the net in a game, and I thought he was going to go for it once. As crazy as that sounds, there was a moment where he was all by himself for a second. I don't know if it was the Friday game or something like that, but how awesome! Just picture Phil Kessel getting a lacrosse goal. What happens besides the paramedics being called because half the arena has a heart attack and needs assistance? That would be just remarkable.
Would you pick your players, your locks?
We got a minute 20. You stop it.
It's going to tell a funny story.
Okay. All right. Let's go Amadio because he's just killing it lately, and Colasar just because.
No, so I was up this morning at 3:30. Of course, I should be awake every morning at that time. I'm listening to WGR Radio in Buffalo, and Don Granato, the head coach of the Sabres, is on. And something that kind of struck me kind of strange or different was that he watches because they've had, the shutdown there due to the snow. He's watching the juniors, and he's also watching all the VGK games. After the Buffalo game here, he wants to see how other teams prepare for the Vegas Golden Knights and if they have the right game plan against the Golden Knights. So he holds the Golden Knights in high esteem, which I thought was kind of strange. We'll be back again tomorrow. Just a little kicker.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Okay. Very interesting. And more interesting. I was up at 3:30. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow for my man, Chris Golick, Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas on Locked On Golden Knights.